Okay, so today I am going to work on doing some SEO research for my blog for my website, for one of my websites. Basically, I am collecting some keywords, things I can write about. And as you can see, probably on here, let me see, is this set up right? Okay. Right now I am trying to find some websites that are similar to mine. SEO. Okay. So, keywords. So what's this keywords list? I have a free trial for this. Okay. What's this website? Okay. Song Production Pros. Okay. I'm pretty sure this guy wrote all his stuff using AI content, as you probably. Ultimate Guide to Numeracy Theory. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, he's my. I think this guy is probably my main competitor for a bit. Here. Keywords. that later. Okay, what's another competitor? Where can I add these? He's got so much more traffic than I do. Holy shit, he gets... What? Hmm. Like, these are all things I have in my plant, right? But he did it first. Shit. Right. Iceland, huh? Register on. Okay. Okay, I'm about to stop doing this stuff because I need to get moving on to some programming. But Musician Wave is a good one to research. I don't know how he got so many damn backlinks though. Nothing there. Yep. almost every day. Okay. Okay. Literally use.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'd like to welcome you to another JUCE tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to build JUCE from the actual repo that's on GitHub. And the reason that we want to do this is if we want to start experimenting with some of the new features that are coming out in JUCE 6, we can actually do this by switching over to the JUCE 6 branch that we see here on the JUCE GitHub repo at github.com/juice-framework/juice. So I'm going to show you how to switch over to the branch. I'm also going to show you a few things that caught me out a little bit and had me stuck for a second. But one of the things I found out was that I did not read the README correctly. So one of the big things to know is you have to read the README in order to actually build these things correctly. So before we get started, if you like tutorials like this and you want to see more of them, be sure to support us on patreon.com/theaudioprogrammer. And we also have a free audio development community. And if you'd like to join and link up and network with other audio developers and help each other solve problems and discuss all things audio programming, you can join us on theaudioprogrammer.com/community. And so we will get started. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to actually clone the JUCE GitHub repo link. And I believe the demo runner in this directory, and we don't see it. Okay, so the processor, and I believe it's inline base. Now we see there's this new JUCE folder that's in there. Okay, so at the moment I don't even have JUCE on my computer. I'm actually just cloning this. I've actually deleted JUCE, and now I'm just cloning this from new. And you see that we're now cloning the repo. Command link you to them or their basics. And here we are. Here we are. So now it's done cloning the repo. And if we click into the JUCE folder, what we'll see is that actually no ProJuicer in this directory. Have it in and then into Mac. Did I miss it? Is we need to. I did. Is I actually used the ProJuicer, and that can give you an error. Okay. Essentially, what the README will tell you if you read the README is that you actually need to build it from the Xcode project rather than from the ProJuicer. So in your Mac OS X folder, if you're from that source, and I will be back when this is done, that this has created a new project. So this has actually launched the ProJuicer for us. And now if we go into our folder here, we'll see a new, our ProJuicer is actually there. So we can actually just take this and drag this over to our shortcuts now. And now that's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a couple things that had me stuck when I was actually doing this. So now I'm going to hit stop tasks. And now I want to, let's say that I want to start exploring some of the features in JUCE 6. So we see that we have, if we go to the repo here, we have 3 branches. We have a master branch, a develop branch, and a JUCE 6 branch. And we could also look at that here by doing git branch --all. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually not in the JUCE folder at the moment, so I need to cd. So I'm in the applications folder at the moment. I need to cd into JUCE. So cd into the JUCE folder. And now I do git branch --all. And now we see that this shows us all of our branches at the moment. And we see that we're if we try to switch branches at the moment, we're not going to be able to, because it has we've changed the actual JUCE, the actual branch. So I'm just going to reset this by doing git reset --hard like this, and then if I do git branch --all. So we see we have our JUCE 6 branch, and then what I could do is if I want to switch over to explore JUCE 6, what I could do is git checkout JUCE 6. And now we see that we've switched over to the new branch JUCE 6. And now what we'll do, one of the first things that we could do is we could let's just try to do something from the ProJuicer. So we have our ProJuicer, and now let's just create a new project. So I'll just call this new project 5, and I'll create it, and then we will just open it up in IDE as usual. And now we will just try to build it, and let's see what happens. So we see that we get this, this error that says this project was saved using an outdated version of the producer. And so now we have a problem in that we have generated, we are on the JUCE 6 branch, but we're using the JUCE 5 producer. Okay, so what we need to do is we actually need to go back. We need to go to our Xcode project, click on this again, and now we need to actually rebuild this. Okay, so this is going to take a second. And I'm going to show you another thing that caught me out the very first time that I was doing this. Okay, so we see that we got a build succeeded here, but one thing that you'll notice if you're looking very carefully is you'll see down here in our console we have another instance is running, and then it says running. To do is we actually need to quit out of that. Again, we are, and we see that the JUCE 6 project build updated look here, and what we can do, we'll just call this 6. We'll do create project. Then it asks you to save it somewhere, and we'll save it to the desktop. And then I'll just quit out of, open up new. Okay, projects and we branch were industry projects. So now what we could do is we could do 5 to our actual industry projects. So now what we could do is we could do git checkout master. And so we go back to the master branch. And then one thing to keep in mind is that, okay, so now I'm going to open up the producer again, and we will see that when we open up the producer, still the JUCE 6 producer, okay? So that's a problem because we're not going to be able to build JUCE 5 projects from this producer, okay? So I'm not going to run through the whole thing, but essentially you'll get some sort of weird error. Let's just do it real quick. Why not? IDE, see some sort of weird dialogue, but that doesn't matter. Let's just open it in. When we do this, that says res failed with exit code 3. Okay, so basically this isn't going to build properly with this 6 producer 4. We have to go back. If you're paying a newer version of the producer and you need to have that instances and that you actually build. Hey, what's up everybody? I'd like to welcome you to another JUCE tutorial. The JUCE base before me. I'll call this sample. New project, and here we have our new project. I'll just create a plugin. We can just call this, I'll just call this sample, sample plugin. And I will create it, just put this on my desktop. And now I'm going to have a new project here that has all of my files. And what I could do is I could go up here to the settings, and I'll show you this new setting here. Down here it says add using namespace JUCE to JUCEheader.h, and this is disabled by default. Okay, I'll show you what this means right now. So let's go ahead and open this up in our IDE. So we'll just click this center button, and this will open our project up in Xcode. And here we are. So normally in a JUCE tutorial, if you've seen any of my JUCE tutorials in the past, we could just instantiate a JUCE object just where we are. So let's go down here, go to desktop, and I'll just call this sample, sample plugin. And I will create it, just put this on my desktop. And now I'm going to have a new project here that has all of my files. And what I could do is I could go up here to the settings, and I'll show you this new setting here. I could go up here, project here that has all of my, and I will new project. I'll just create a plugin. We can just call this, I'll just call this sample, sample plugin, and I will create it. Just put this on my desktop. And now I'm going to have a new project here that has all of my files. And what I could do is I could go up here to the settings, and I'll show you this new setting here. Down here it says add using namespace JUCE to JUCEheader.h, and this is disabled by default. Okay, I'll show you what this means right now. So let's go ahead and open this up in our IDE. Okay, using name here, and I'm going to sample plugin, and I will create it. Just put this on my desktop. And now I'm going to have a new project here that has all of my files. And what I could do is I could go up here to the settings, and I'll show you this new setting here. Down here it says add using namespace juice to juiceheader.h, and this is disabled by default. Okay, I'll show you what this means right now. So let's go ahead and open this up in our IDE. So we'll just click this center button, and this will open our project up in Xcode. And here we are. So normally in a JUCE tutorial, if you've seen any of my JUCE tutorials in the past, we could just instantiate a JUCE object just by typing the name of the object. So for instance, if we had the slider class, we could normally just say slider like this, and we could just compile and it would work. But as we can see, we're going to get a build failed, and it says the error is unknown type name slider. Did you mean JUCE slider? And this is what I mean by using the JUCE namespace. In front of any JUCE objects or in front of any JUCE classes that we're instantiating, we would need to put JUCE in front of this class. So let's go ahead and try to compile it again. And we will see that we will now get build succeeded. Now the question is, why have they decided to do this? Does this not make things more complicated? The reason that they've decided to do this is because sometimes you would get name collisions when you're using multiple libraries. So let's say, for instance, just a hypothetical scenario that we had two UI classes that had a class called slider. When the code's trying to compile and we don't have any namespace in front of this slider, if we have two UI kits that are both using the class called slider, it wouldn't know which slider that you meant. Does it mean the JUCE slider, or does it mean this slider from this other library? So that's the reason why they have made it where you need to put the namespace in front of it and specify that this is the JUCE slider. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few little tips to help with longer names. So one of the things that I noticed when I was first starting out, when you have these really long namespaces, it can get very long to read out. So for one, I'll give you one example here. So we said something like std unique pointer, and then we said JUCE audio processor value tree state slider attachment, and I'll just call this attach one like this. Let's say we had a couple like this, right? And I will do like this, and I'll just name them 2 and 3. So I remember when I was first starting out, this looked like very long and very confusing to me. Okay, so one way that you can abstract this out is by using what's called the using keyword. So we could do something like this: using attachment equals, and then we can make that this long thing here. And then what I could do is now I can within the scope of this code, within this header file, anywhere where it says JUCE audio processor value tree state slider attachment, I can now just replace that with attachment like this. Okay, and so sometimes that helps to clean up some of the code as well. But one thing that I'll say is, in terms of best practice, it is best practice to use the JUCE, to put the JUCE namespace in front of the objects to prevent name collisions. For smaller projects, smaller plugins where you're not using any sort of external libraries, it's probably okay. But in general, it's best practice to use the JUCE namespace in front of these objects. Okay, so sometimes you'll see this like a using keyword. So using some word, some keyword equals this long bit of nested code right here. Another way that that you could do this, or another way that you'll probably see in some code bases, is something like this, where you could use namespace JUCE like this, and then you need to put closing parentheses like this, and now anything that's in here that is supposed to be a JUCE object, you don't have to put JUCE in front of it. Okay. Now, if I compile this, what'll happen is this build will fail, because what I need to do is I need to do the same thing for the CPP file as well. Okay. So in general, I guess it depends, but in general, I wouldn't advise to really do this. But some code bases that I've seen have really nested namespaces, and they're very, very long. So sometimes you have to do this, where you have namespace JUCE, and then sometimes inside that you have some sort of other namespace. And that what this basically means is that anything in here that has a JUCE object, it'll automatically put the JUCE namespace in front of it. Okay, and let's try to build here, make sure that this build succeeds. Okay, we got a fail, unknown type name. Okay, so we just need to put JUCE in front of this as well, like that. And now we should get a build succeeded. Okay, so then we open up and look to do this in the way that I've. Hey, what's up, everybody? I like to go up here to File and do New Project, and then this should bring up the screen. Okay, then you can see over here on the left-hand side that you have a couple different types of applications that you can actually build. So you have a blank application, which basically has nothing. And these are templates to help you kind of get started. They provide you with the basic source files that you need to build that type of application. So a UI application just has basically a window where you can actually start building and using some graphics, but it doesn't have any sort of facilities for audio input and output and that sort of thing. Then you have your audio application, which is where you can build a standalone audio application. Then you have your plugin application down here, which is where you can actually build a VST or AU or AAX plugin. And the audio and basic, the audio application and the basic plugin application are the ones that I tend to use. Sometimes I'll use a UI application if I'm just trying to show an example or build something very quickly, something visual. Okay, so for this one, we'll just use an UI application. Coming over here to the right side of your producer, now you can give your project a name. So I will just call this sample. Below that, we have a module section where you can actually, so JUCE is more of kind of a collection of libraries. So you have different libraries that you can include or disclude from your JUCE project. As you can see, some of them are checked in here because we're creating a template. You have others that you can include, such as like a DSP library, you have an OpenGL library, so on and so forth, but they're not included because we don't need them just yet. So I will just leave that as is. And then we have the path to the modules. So normally, at least on a Mac, those will be in the applications folder. And then we have our exporter section. So we have checked in Xcode as our choice of integrated development environment, or IDE. And if we were on Windows, then we would probably have like Visual Studio and so on. And then that's it. So what I could do is I can actually create this project just going down here to the bottom right and hit create project. And then I would just choose desktop to actually create the project. I hit open. And now it's created my project. So once it's created the project, then you have your, we don't need them just yet. So for using and plugin, then you have your facility where you can add basic thing. And these are templates to help you kind of get started. They provide you with the basic source files that you need to build that type of application. So a UI application just has a basically a window where you can actually start building and using some graphics, but it doesn't have any sort of facilities for audio input and output and that sort of thing. Then you have your audio application, which is where you can build a standalone audio application. Then you have your plugin application down here, which is where you can actually build a VST or AU or AAX plugin. And the audio and basic, the audio application and the basic plugin application are the ones that I tend to use. Sometimes I'll use a UI application if I'm just trying to show an example or build something very quickly, something visual. Okay, so for this one, we'll just use an UI application. Coming over here to the right side of your producer, now you can give your project a name. So I will just call this sample. Below that, we have a module section where you can actually, so JUCE is more kind of a collection of libraries. So you have different libraries that you can include or disclude from your JUCE project. As you can see, some of them are checked in here because we're creating a template. You have others that you can include, such as like a DSP library, you have an OpenGL library, so on and so forth, but they're not included because we don't need them just yet. So I will just leave that as is. And then we have the path to the modules. So normally, at least on a Mac, those will be in the applications folder. And then we have our exporter section. So we have checked in Xcode as our choice of integrated development environment. Is and hit create the project. I hit open. Choose desktop. Component and main component.cpp. Okay, we'll go through those in future tutorials and show you some of the basics. If you want to call them, is I can use we have what this for it, which will or I could then trying to do that. I've never actually even used myself, but they're more kind of advanced things. And sometimes you'll have some menus that are and if we click in here, we'll see our source files. Those things that so new this, and I will call it, and I will put this in. Now we have this test.cpp and test.hpp that are now here. But now watch what happens if I close out Xcode. So I'll close this out, and you'll notice that test.cpp and test.hpp are not in my source folder. So if I go like this and I open it back up, now those source files are actually gone. Okay, so they aren't actually in here. Okay, so what you need to do, so first thing I'll do is I will go back into the folder itself because those files actually still exist, and I can just go in here and I will delete these. So any files that you're trying to create, you need to create actually in the producer itself. Okay, so this is where you manage your whole project. So files that you're trying to create, also your header search paths, any sort of libraries that you're trying to link into your project, you need to do that via the producer. So the way that we can do that is by going to our file explorer, and then down here at the bottom, we just hit our plus button, and I will now do a new CPP and header file, and I will just call this, I'll call this test2, and then I'll hit save, and this will create these source files, and you can actually like move them around. So I'll just move them in here into the source folder, and now I'll save it and open an IDE again, and now you see those files are there. So make sure that when you're creating new source files, that you're actually creating that in the ProJuicer itself and not in the IDE, or else they will disappear, and that's very frustrating. So those are the basics of the ProJuicer, just to get your first. Hey, what's up, everybody? Class, and I'm just now we have our project creator, and I'm just going to create a UI application since we're not making any sound, and I will call this project sample. I can hit create project down here in the bottom right hand corner, and I will just save this to my desktop. And now I want to open this up in Xcode, so I will hit the center button to save and open in IDE. And now I'm in Xcode, button to save and open. And I'm just going to create a UI application since we're not making any sound. And I will call this project sample. I can hit create project down here in the bottom right hand corner, and I will just save this to my desktop. And now I want to open this up in Xcode, so I will hit the center button to save and open in IDE. And now I'm in Xcode with our project. So we have three files here. We have the main.cpp, and the main.cpp, I don't really mess with this a whole lot. This you can think of as your very base level JUCE application source file. Okay, so I don't really mess with this a whole lot. The one that you want to start with is the main component. Okay, so here we are in our header file, and we can see that we have this class that's called main component, and we see that it inherits from JUCE component, the component class. So what I like to do is I like to show people where they can actually find all this documentation, because I could call out loads of different methods and loads of different things you can do. But the best place to find these things, just to show you where it all comes from, is actually from the JUCE documentation. And I'll link you to where you find the actual JUCE documentation online. And as you can see, here we are, we have this component class, and then it has loads. So this is a very, very big class here. We have loads of different methods and functions that we could call from it. A lot of them are finding screen position, detecting if the mouse is over a component, things like that. But I'll just show you a few of the basics here. So if we just minimize this, so if we go into our main component.cpp, now since this is a component class, right, then what we could do is we can actually call component methods on this class. So one of these, the very basic one, is set size. So if I just build this here very quickly, then what we'll see is that we will actually get a window that is our main window. So this is kind of the background, so to speak, of our application. And so it's building now. It'll pop up here in a second. And so here we have our main window, and we see that we have this draw text method here where it says hello world, and we see hello world there. Okay, we see that we have the justification to centered, and I'll go through all of this in just a moment. So this is our main window, and we have it set to a size of 600 by 400. So let's just change the size of this, right? So we have the width of 600 by the height of 400, and let's just cut it in half and just say 300 by 200, and we'll build this again. So setting the window, I think of would probably have this method that's called patient, is setting the window size, and then you have this method that's called paint. So paint I think of as what is happening in this component this component class that I'm working on right now. What's the color of the background? Do I want to have text on it? Do I want to have something that's actually do I want to have it change colors when I hover over the component, things like that. That kind of happens here in the paint method. Okay, and I'm going to show you just a few quick little tips, very basic tips here to help you get started. So you have the graphics class. Okay, so this G, we see that this comes from JUCE, JUCE graphics. So this is the JUCE graphics class, and let me show you what we have there. Once again, a very, very big class. Okay, so there are loads of things that you can do here, and I'm just going to show you just a few of those, right? Some of the very basic ones. So we have the g.fill all, and if we go back into our documentation, let's just see what it says. Okay, so we go to fill all, and we see here that we have a place where it says fills the context entire clip with a given color. So what I could do is I could change the color. So here we have it to this default kind of greenish color. And one convenient class that you can use to change the color is what they call the colors class. So I'll just call on that now. So we got JUCE, then we'll type in colors. And what I could do is if I go in, I don't know if I can control click into this. So if you do a command click, you can go into the class itself. Okay, so this takes you into what the class, what's actually inside this class, and shows you what methods that you can actually call on it. So I just command click and I click jump to definition. And if I command click in there, you'll see that there are loads of colors that I can call here. So we got chocolate, we've got dark slate blue, loads of colors. Okay, so let's just try one. So we'll do JUCE, colors, and then let's do green, yellow. And then I will just compile this again. And now we have a green, yellow background, right? And let's just change it to something a little bit darker. So let's just change it to green, right? And then you have this set font method, which is where we can set the size of our text. So right now it's at 16, so let's just make it 32. And we will just do this. And now we see that our text has gotten bigger. And we have set color, so we can change the color of the text itself. So what happens is that you set the color and then you perform an action with that color. So what I will do is I'll just set this to red. And now I'll build again. And we see that our text is turned red like so. Okay, so then we have our draw text method, and a lot of these things you will learn over time just through working with JUCE and just experimentation. But let's just take something like justification, right? So it says JUCE justification centered. What I could do is I could command click into this again. So I just scroll down and you'll see a lot of stuff that if you're first starting out, you probably won't really understand a lot of this stuff to begin with. But that's the reason why it's in here. It's in here so you don't have to initially really deal with this difficult stuff. Okay, but if it's helpful to look in the JUCE documentation, so try to look in and dig in there, and eventually some of these things will start to make sense. One of those things is we can see that we have this flags enum where it will say, and they're great at commenting the code as well. So we have there, look in the color. So the color, so our text, and try one. Loads of I click jump to definition. So I just command click and I click jump to definition. And if I command click in there, you'll see that there are loads of colors that I can call here. So we got chocolate, we've got dark slate blue, loads of colors. Okay, so let's just try one. So we'll do JUCE, colors, and then let's let's do green, yellow. And then I will just compile this again. And now we have a green, yellow background, right?
Okay. Now let's change over to okay, that's working. I need to turn on the light, and I'm going to change my camera to do some painting now. But I do need to go to Discord. Okay. Do is change over to fire mode. Light. later. Okay. A little bit more. green. Oh, it's too green now. That's very brown. Not gonna see me. This palette. Two. Oh, shit. Oh, my phone just died. Charger's not strong enough.